Nigeria's leading policy think tank, the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, as part of its role in economic research and policy, launched its 2018 Macroeconomic Outlook in Lagos. Head, Research for the NESG, Dr. Olusegun Omisakin, gave an overview of the key issues in the report.
We have very brief projections for 2018, and that happens to be under different scenarios. We have the optimistic, the business as usual, and the pessimistic case. As you could see, if you look at this critically, you will see that every scenario is still being driven or guided by oil sector. So we have different assumptions for each of the scenarios, and we have different outlook based on the macroeconomic model that we used. And so we believe that if we vigorously, after inclusive growth this year and years to come, especially this year, 2018, we will likely have a situation where if the crude oil sector is still doing fine in terms of the international market, the price and the production, domestic production, and then we have the government that has the muscle, the strength, the will to implement some of the inclusive growth suggestions and policies that we have highlighted in the book. We'll have a situation where our real GDP growth will be like 3.5%, and that the inflation rate will be at 15%. Also, if you look at the business as usual, which seems to be what will likely happen given this same terrain that we've been following through, we believe that, let's assume that the oil price maintains 60% on the average during the year. Yes, you can have some outliers, but on the average, and the government is still playing like, okay, we want to improve the ease of doing business, we want to do this, and they continue with the same basic institutional reforms, then this is the outlook. We are likely going to have 2.3% growth in GDP, and we are likely going to have unemployment rate increase. Unemployment and underemployment, anyway, increase to 35%. But if the situation gets worse, such that the government is preoccupied with election, such that the government is preoccupied with politicking, then we are likely going to have a very bad scenario that the highly celebrated growth potential that we'll be recording might turn out to be something bad. In such a case, we assume that if the oil price, of course, which has been driven the growth dynamics in Nigeria, falls back to 48 on the average this year, we are likely going to have 1.5% growth. So all these projections are pointing to the fact that we should change our narrative of growth to mere lean, weak growth into a more inclusive growth this year and beyond.
Dr. Doyin Salami, a notable Nigerian economist who is in the NESG advisory board, in his remarks shared that the economic outlook for Nigeria was bright, but the nation had a great opportunity in taking advantage of the situation through its policy direction.
The challenge is not whether the outlook is bright. The challenge is whether Nigeria will take advantage of the improving environment in which she now finds herself. If you look at oil prices, as of today, you're looking at oil prices just short of $70 a barrel. At the end of 2015, oil prices were slightly less than $40 a barrel. Now, there is a sense in which we think markets will correct themselves because we suspect that oil's been overbought at this point, but that's not the point. Dr. Mishaki has quite lucidly put some of the issues on the table. And my comments will try and divide this up into two parts. In the very short term, and when I say the very short term, I look at 2018, let's just say the period until the elections. And what is pretty clear is that the external environment looks good. But the key question is going to be, will the domestic policy environment in the run-up to an election take some of the remaining hard decisions that really do need to be taken. I've made the point many a time about two key dimensions. The first is what's going to be the role of prices in resource allocation in Nigeria. We cannot be told that Nigeria continues to spend the better part of ₦1 billion every day in oil subsidy. Call it whatever name you want, augmentation, subsidy. I've heard so many names, had it called so many names. But the point remains that how do we solve that? Second, Nigeria has a multiplicity of rates for her currency. Again, we may say in the short term, these are, I don't want to say inevitable, but these are tolerable. But we have to have a way of transition from where we are to what we consider to be ideal. The fundamental challenge is, I'm not clear we have articulated that ideal so that everybody can see that as circumstances permit us, this is our preferred direction of movement. So that for me is the short-term challenge that we really are going to have to face.
The CEO of PZ Cussons Nigeria, Mr. Christos Giannopoulos, who attended the Outlook, speaks on the prospects for his sector in 2018.
From our industry, we are constantly evolving the areas that we are involved. We are backward integrating to ensure that we maximize the benefits that the country has to offer in terms of raw materials within agriculture, within mining, and new innovative products that satisfy the consumer and provide good value for money.
Mr. Laoye Jayola, CEO of NESG, gave further insight into the essence of the 2018 NESG macroeconomic outlook and how it will engage policymakers in the year.
For us, growth is what is guaranteed. But growth that doesn't carry the people along, that's not inclusive, is a problem. And you can take a trend analysis of Nigerian GDP growth and how much unemployment is being. It's so wide. And some people are saying growth is good, it's just a number. But how do we begin to deal with it and trickle down to the people and have impact on the people? Which is why we're saying government should focus on that aspect of our economy that can take our people out. And I'll tell you one key instance. All of us believe that until we begin to do value addition in the areas of agric and agro-allied products, we can get results. But in doing that, we need to deal with some of the restiveness we see in areas of the country. So we need to take tough decisions to deal with those things. So for us, growth is assured if we take the right decisions, but we need to make sure it is inclusive. And you've heard the issue around skills, it's something that we'll begin to look at. But honestly, our teaming young people need to be given the right skill. I mean, basic skills to deal with those things that we can do here in Nigeria. And if we get that right, it means that we'll get a lot of people out of the poverty line, we get more people to work, and we get results. I mean, you heard one of the data that was pulled out today, that 20% at the bottom of the pyramid only contribute 3% to economic spend. It's a recipe for problem in the medium to long run if we don't deal with it.
2018 brings a positive outlook for sustained economic growth in Nigeria. A major takeaway from this launch is the need for public and private sector policymakers to work assiduously in driving cohesive and inclusive economic growth.